Thank you, Senator Hessen. Senator Johnson, you're recognized for your questions.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, welcome.
Good morning.
Didn't bring my chart. It's just too depressing to look at of apprehensions on the border. It's abject failure. But I'm hoping that you came a little bit better prepared in terms of going through the numbers with me. And I guess rather than ask you for the numbers, which I've never gotten straight answers on, let me just run by you the numbers that we've got off of many times right off your website. Total nationwide encounters during the Biden administration, just shy of 6 million. Is that about right?
My understanding of apprehensions is that is almost 6 million. Yes.
Yeah. So again, you're calling them encounters now, which I think is a strange turn of a phrase.
Well, the reason
total expulsions on, well, I know, because you're not apprehending them. You're just encountering and then you're dispersing and processing and dispersing them. Total expulsions under Title 42, about 2.4 million. So that means 6 million minus 2.4, about 3.6 million people have been encountered, very efficiently processed and dispersed, correct? About 3.6 million?
So there are other ways that individuals are addressed, Senator Johnson. For example, they can be removed under Title 8 of the United States Code.
So how many have been removed under that title then?
In fiscal year 2022, I record just over 360,000 individuals have been removed under Title 8. There are also, Senator, there's also the ability to have individuals voluntarily return to their country of origin.
Yeah, so how many is that number? How many voluntarily returned?
My understanding of the data in fiscal year 2022, it was approximately 260,000 individuals.
So I'll take 500,000 off of that, okay? So 3.6 down, take 500,000 away from that, it's about 3.1. According to Border Patrol Chief Ortiz, about 1.4 million known gotaways. I mean, is that a correct number, 1.4?
Last year, Senator, and by the way, if I may, you combined multi-year figures with the data that I provided, which was for 1 year.
That's because you don't publish this stuff in a very understandable way. So a large number of people are getting away that we know about. We don't know who these people are, but they're just gotaways. They're never encountered. They get away into the interior. Then we've got one estimate's about 0.3 million unknown gotaways. Okay, that's the estimate. So somewhere north of 4 million people. I had a number down here, 5.3, but we're adjusting that down based on Title II expulsions and I guess people voluntarily going home. Somewhere between 4 and 5 million people during this administration have been coming to this country, probably don't qualify for asylum, but that's a pretty accurate number, right? 4 to 5 million?
Senator, let me first communicate a premise, which is we are very, very focused on the security of our border.
No, you're not. No, you're not. I don't want to listen to that. So basically what we're looking at is 22 states have populations less than 4 million people. 28 states have populations less than 5 million people. That is the magnitude of the problem. Do you know how many dead bodies were discovered on the southwest border in fiscal year 2022?
Senator, when you...
listen, I don't have much time. Do you know how many dead bodies were discovered?
Senator, this is precisely why we are seeking to
make sure... I'm not looking for do you know how many dead bodies were discovered in 2022? What's the number?
Senator?
It's 890, according to a news article in the Wall Street Journal, which I'd like to enter in the record. I'd also like to, can you enter that in the record? Without objection. Thank you. I'd also like to enter into the record a couple of New York Times articles, oddly enough, written by Hannah Dreyer. This one is published on February 25th, 2023. It's titled, "Alone and Exploited, Migrant Children Work Brutal Jobs Across the U.S." I just want to quote from this article, "But as more and more children have arrived, the Biden White House has ramped up demands on staffers to move children quickly out of the shelters and release them to adults. caseworkers say they rush through the vetting process. It goes on, data obtained by the Times show that over the last 2 years, the agency could not reach more than 85,000 children. Overall, the agency lost immediate contact with about a third of the migrant children. It goes on. It's going to be a business for some of these co-sponsors, said one of the people trying to place these folks, one of the caseworkers. But the caseworkers at those agencies said the HHS regularly ignored obvious signs of labor exploitation. In interviews with more than 60 caseworkers, most independently estimate that about 2/3 of all unaccompanied children end up working full-time. It goes on, as the government, we've turned a blind eye toward their trafficking, says Doug Gilmer, the head of Birmingham, Alabama Office of Homeland Security Investigations, a federal agency that often becomes involved with immigrant cases. Mr. Gilmore teared up as he recalled finding 13-year-olds working in meat plants, 12-year-olds working at suppliers for Hyundai and Kia, and children who should have been in middle school working at commercial bakeries. Mr. Secretary, do you know how many young girls are sex trafficked? Are you following any of those cases? Do you have HSI investigating that form of involuntary servitude because of your open border policies?
Senator, our Center for Combating Human Trafficking presents one of our greatest priorities within the Department of Homeland Security. It is precisely why I've taken two important steps. Number one, identify for the first time human trafficking and child exploitation as a priority for the Department of Homeland Security. Number two,
but you are failing miserably. 4 to 5 million people, 1.4 million unknown gotaways. We have no idea who those people are, what kind of security they risk. You're not giving me any stats whatsoever in terms of the number of people that are human trafficked, how many young girls are sex trafficked. You don't have a clue. You wouldn't even answer how many dead bodies, which is very well documented, at the border. Do you not care? Do you not have just an ounce of human compassion for what your open border policy, the type of human depredations it is causing? You just sit there looking with a blank look on your face. And you're saying it's a priority. If it's a priority, how did we let 4 to 5 million people in this country in a little more than 2 years? 4 to 5 million people. The population of 20 to almost 30 states. And you're saying this is a priority? Mr. Secretary, you ought to resign.
Senator Johnson, Secretary, sorry, I'd like you to respond to.
Well, I have a number of responses. The senator mischaracterizes our policies with respect to the security of the southern border. The senator, of course, disparagingly mischaracterizes our commitment to address human trafficking and the exploitation of vulnerable individuals, including children. And the senator misstates the data because he confuses encounters with unique individuals. But a number of things I'd have to say in addition to the senator's statements, and I would look forward to doing so, Senator Johnson, subsequent to this hearing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Senator Scott, you're recognized for your questions.